Hello, everybody, and welcome into Sports by GSMC. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. We have a great show for you tonight. We've got a couple subjects that very big in the sports world today. First of all, the NBA trade deadline that passed us today at 3 o'clock. We will be breaking down all the huge news, big trades, what team won the trade deadline, what team lost, what team should have done more. Uh, After that, I'll be taking you into a little bit of NFL honors, NFL awards. We have NFL awards going on actually right now live as we speak. So, what we're going to do is we are going to do a little bit of predictions, and if we get to the point where some awards get announced, we will go over them, see what we got right, see what we got wrong, delve into them a little bit. Now, if you do have any questions, there's a couple things you can do. You can leave a comment. I'll be checking those, so feel free to take a look at that. But also, if you take a look over here, go to this link right here, this tips and donations link. That'll get your question right to the top of our question board. Get it answered quick. You'll get a shout out, and it really would appreciate. Remember to subscribe, like, spread the word here. Without further ado, though, I would like to get into our first topic here, that being the NBA trade deadline. Now, this was not as huge of a trade deadline as it has been in recent years. So, what we're talking about in recent years, you had Kevin Durant get traded. There weren't any huge moves like that, but there were a couple big moves that could make a couple big differences down the road here as we reach the end of the season here. First of all, probably the biggest name that got traded here, Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield was traded from the Pacers to the 76ers for 3 seconds. Furkan Korkmaz and I totally butchered that name, and Marcus Morris here. So we talk about the 76ers, a team that has had championship expectations going into this season here, adding Buddy Hield. They also added campaign for Patrick Beverly. So their moves this trade deadline here were mostly for shooting. Now, Joel Embiid is hurt, and that's going to be a huge black stain on their record right now. You have your star, the MVP candidate, out for maybe the rest of the season. And I know in our production meetings here at GSMC, we were talking about should the 76ers rush Joel Embiid back into action for the playoffs. And with moves like this, it kind of signals, at least to me, that they are planning on having him back for the postseason. Now, adding a guy like Buddy Hield and adding a guy like Campaign, both of those guys can shoot the basketball. And that honestly has been the biggest weakness for the Sixers. You go back historically here, you have obviously Joel Embiid being a monster on the inside, causing all kinds of havoc. But they never really had that many true 3-point shooting threats. They had a couple. They had JJ Redick there for a while, but there wasn't enough shooting for them to really make a difference. So they went out and they got some shooters. Buddy Hield is one of the best shooters in the entire league. They got him for a relatively cheap price. 3 seconds. It's a second round pick. It could turn into something, but And then essentially that was it, because both Marcus Morris and Korkmaz are no longer on the Pacers. They were both either waived or traded away. The Pacers traded Marcus Morris for Doug McDermott on the Spurs, and they just waived Korkmaz. So essentially, you get Buddy Hield for 3 seconds. That's not bad at all. What that guy can do for you down the stretch in games, what he can do for you to really space that floor. and keep the Sixers competitive while Joel Embiid is out with that torn meniscus. Obviously, that's not a bad team, but you don't want to fall too far back in the playoff races without Joel Embiid, and making these moves is absolutely going to help them. I think they got worse on defense, but the offense that these guys are going to provide, I think absolutely worth the moves that they made. Now, looking on the Pacers side of this trade, Pacers are a young team, up and coming team. They just traded for Pascal Siakam about a week ago, and that might have signaled to a lot of people that they are trying to go make a deep run this year. The issue is that that defense is real bad. It's been their liability. The Pacers have one of the most electric offenses in the entire league, and we've seen that. Just the way that they play, but to win in the playoffs, you need to have some defense. So, trading away Buddy Hield makes it seem like, they weren't even going to re sign him, which, an expiring contract there, getting something for him, is so much better than just playing it out and letting him walk. Because if we're taking a step back and we're really looking at the NBA and the playoffs, the Pacers probably aren't going to win the championship this year. And if you weren't going to re-sign Buddy Hield, there was no reason to keep him on that team. It's not to say the Pacers can't make a run. We saw what they did in the in-season tournament here. But they probably weren't going to win an NBA championship. So I understand the move on the Pacers' part. They kind of... I don't love the trade for them, but I understand it. Now, again, for the Sixers, I think this is a great move. I think this is something that could have them contend with the Celtics in the playoffs. Asterisk being, Joel Embiid is healthy and can play in the playoffs. If he is not, unless you've re-signed Buddy Hield, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, this move. Aside from that, there were a couple other big trades here. The Thunder and the Hornets. The Hornets made a couple of trades this deadline. The Thunder got Gordon Hayward, traded away Trey Mann and Davis Bertans. Trey Mann wasn't getting a lot of play in that rotation, and adding a guy like Gordon Hayward, I know he's injury prone, but he's a savvy veteran. He has the ability to do a lot on the floor. He might not be the same as he was in his prime when he was with the Jazz, but adding Hayward to that team, it's the kind of move that you want a team on that timeline to make. A team that has so many young guys. Again, going back to the Pacers a little bit, they have so many assets, the Thunders do. The Thunder and the Pacers are in very similar situations. The Thunder just have a lot more assets to trade because of all the stockpiling they've been doing over the last 5 years or so. But that team, adding Gordon Hayward to it, they're already top 4 seed in the West. They could make some noise. Now, there's a lot of ifs still. Again, Gordon Hayward is very injury prone. He hasn't been able to stay healthy for a while. But if he can stay healthy and slot into that team, have good chemistry with the guys on the floor, it's gonna make a big difference having a guy with his skill set on the roster there. And then the Knicks made a couple moves. The Knicks went out and they went shopping in the Pistons store. They went out and they got some shooters. They got Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic. Alec Burks had not been having the greatest season shooting, but he has shown in the past his ability to make these shots, his ability to be a huge shot maker. And even this season, he's had some flashes. Pistons have not been good, but he's made a couple big shots here and there. Now, a lot of these teams that have been making trades, they're the expected ones. The Hornets, Pistons, Wizards made a couple trades. Uh, but when you really get into it, I think the Sixers had the best trade deadline out of everyone. I mean, again, this is assuming that Joel Embiid is out there healthy, playing in the playoffs. But you get Buddy Hield out there. It's it's kind of like a Giannis and Lillard light, that spacing that they can create. So that's a huge move. The Mavericks, they made a big trade as well. PJ Washington got traded to the Mavericks for Grant Williams, Seth Curry. Now, those guys get sent to the Hornets. They'll play out their year, but it's an interesting move. The Mavericks could have gone out and signed a guy like PJ Washington. I know he was a restricted free agent, but they could have gone out, they could have gotten PJ Washington. Instead, they went and they got Grant Williams. Grant Williams was their big offseason get, and now they're trading him away. The Mavericks, you've got Luka, you've got Kyrie, they're always going to be good, but they missed the playoffs last season, and they're trying to make a move. If they continue to struggle a little bit, then who knows if Luka will even stay. But moving off Grant Williams so fast is something that it kind of puzzles me. And I know he hasn't had the greatest season, but you go out and you get this guy, you make this huge offseason move, he's your big acquisition, and then you're just off of him. Like that. And PJ Washington, they kind of play similar roles. I mean, it is kind of a one for one here. He also hasn't been having the greatest season, PJ Washington. But, he shows flashes here and there of what he was last season. And this feels like more of a lateral move for the Mavs, if I'm being honest. The Mavericks, 8th seed in the West right now. They don't want to miss the playoffs again. That would be worst case scenario. And this trade deadline was a great opportunity for them to cement something, give them something here that will push them over the top. And I know they don't have the assets to make a huge move like they did last year getting Kyrie. But what they've done just doesn't really seem like enough to push them over the top. So, looking at all that, like I said, I've got the 76ers, I think, had the best trade deadline. When you can get Campaign and Buddy Hield for relatively cheap, both of those guys can really stretch the floor for you, get a lot of nice shots, make some great contributions. And I I don't want to say the Pacers lost, but they did a lot for nothing. You know, they made that trade to get rid of Buddy Hield, and they leave that what they leave with is 2 seconds and Doug McDermott. Sorry, 1 second and Doug McDermott. If you go through all their trades, they got 3 seconds in that trade. They traded one for Corey Joseph, and then cut him, waived him, and then they traded Marcus Morris in a second for Doug McDermott. So at the end of the day, for Buddy Hield, what they've done is get Doug McDermott and a second. And that just, I know they have a young core and they have a lot of time, but that just doesn't seem like it was worth it, honestly. If I was them, if I was getting that return, I probably just would have held on to Hield for the rest of the season, see what they could do. And I know his defense is a liability on a team that can't really have any defensive liabilities left. But I don't like the move. So, some other parts here. DeJounte Murray did not go. The Lakers did not make a move. Now, that's not to say that they weren't trying to make a move. They were reportedly trying to make a smaller move, but they would have had to give up too much, or they would have had to, or wasn't worth it getting the guy. So they're supposed to be active in the waiver market, trying to go get guys like Spencer Dinwiddie, who was waived. Uh, adding that to a roster that needs a boost. I know they've been playing better as of late with D'Angelo Russell uh, coming back to form, but adding this, they probably need to make a move, not just for this season, but to keep LeBron happy, see if he'll stay, use that player option to stay in LA. But in just a second, we will be back with NFL award predictions. So just sit tight. We'll be right back with you.